All right, are we ready to start? All right, now we're starting chapter 7, my favorite chapter, the chapter this whole class has been building up to. I'm glad we got great attendance today because this is where I help you get to retirement. This is it. This is coming again. Not right away, but it's going to come again, where houses will be at a price and you got to be ready. Even if it takes 10 years from now, you say to yourself, I'm saving for my emergency fund, and once I get my emergency fund, I'm saving for that house deals that I know are coming someday. And you just wait and be patient, and then houses will be given away again. Now, why is buying a house a better deal than renting? I mean, I've seen a lot of headlines lately where millennials are renting, they don't want to own, because of the housing crash, they think that's not a good investment. Right now, that's probably true. Houses are at peak prices all over the United States, and it would be a poor time to buy right now. But if you're saying, I'm going to rent, houses could crash, wait for the crash, then buy. Don't keep renting. All right, then do it. So, I want to show you renting versus buying. I like to do my own little renting versus buying, but I will put the books version of it up on the screen if I can find it. I don't have it. Oh no, I do. It's right here. Renting versus buying. Renting versus buying. And I don't know where it is. Darn. I thought I did it. All right. It's on page. I'll give you the page instead. Now we're in the right chapter. Oh, hang on. Page 221. I'll put this up on the screen. I'm going to follow this as far as what you do, but I'm using different numbers that are closer to reality. I'm predicting as if like you're getting out of school in 2 or 3 years or a year, and I'm going to use some numbers that be more reality a little bit. All right, you ready? When I first graduated, I had a job in Flint for a little while, and then I got a job down in Ohio. And I ended up moving to Akron, Ohio. Has anybody ever heard of Akron? Okay, Akron, Ohio. I got to watch the Goodyear blimp once. I was playing in a softball league in Ohio, and right next to where the blimp is stored in the big blimp warehouse, and it was so windy we stopped the whole game to watch because they had so many troubles. The driver of the blimp had such troubles to get it down where they could grab the lines and get it into that warehouse. It was literally entertaining. Risky entertaining though. We worried a little, but it was entertaining. It lasted a while. That's how windy it was. Anyway, I was living in Akron. And that's what happens. Depending on the economy, you may have to leave the area to go get a really good job or to get started, get some experience. And so you're going to rent. Now, I was talking to Seth 2 days ago about renting, what the average cost of renting is. But in this scenario I'm doing, I'm saying, you've been maybe there for a year or two, and now you're ready to rent a house. So I'm going to use $1,000 a month rent. And that's your cost for renting, and you should have renter's insurance because it's so cheap. Remember, when you rent a house, the owner of the house, the landlord, their insurance covers the house and the flooring and maybe the appliances if they're the landlords, but none of your stuff. All of your stuff is not covered by insurance unless you get a renter's policy. It's so cheap, and you're working full time, you should do it. I don't know the price actually, but this has to be close. Not $210 a month. That's per year. So that's all it is. It's $210 for a year. And if something happens, and I had one of my rentals burned, get on fire from the renters, and they luckily had renter's insurance. And so their stuff was all covered, and I had insurance on the house, so that was all covered to get repaired also. But if they had not had renter's insurance, that would have been a big loss for them. All their stuff that were in that room got completely burned or so much smoke damage because the doors were closed that they had to throw it away, whatever it was. So renter's insurance. And this is all the cost when comparing to owning a home that you have. In the book, there's one more thing called opportunity cost. Because you're going to have to take $1,000 as a deposit, and the landlord hangs on to it until you're ready to move out. They do an inspection, and then they send your $1,000 to you. The landlord gets to make the interest on the $1,000 instead of you. Interest rates are so low, and even though they're the highest they've been in a long time, they're still so low, 2%. that I'm leaving that out for this semester, and when you have a renting versus owning problem on your final, you don't have to do the opportunity cost. So make sure you have that in your notes. This is all you need. 1,000 times 12, $12,000 a year, plus 210 in rent insurance. Our total cost is $12,210 a year. You know, how can you beat that with a house? That seems really low. All right, now you're about to learn. And what I'm going to teach you, even though I used to always talk about the tax benefits of owning a home, they're almost gone. So let's see what happens that no longer we have these tax benefits. By the way, the tax benefits of owning a home are these two right here when we get to it. So if you have this page open, put on here, no longer a benefit because of tax changes in most cases. Not all, but in most cases. All right? So now, owning a home. Where am I going to put this? This is owning. First thing is you have a house payment. Now, in most cases, people take out a loan. You're paying, the house payment is the payment on the loan each month, plus your property taxes and your home insurance gets split in 12, and that gets added to it. So your whole monthly payment is for your property taxes, your insurance, and the loan called the mortgage on the house. So the mortgage, which is the loan, call it mort, in this example is $800 per month. How come this is cheaper than renting? I want to tell you, because renting, you're actually replacing the house pay, the mortgage and the property taxes and the insurance. You got to add all three of those to compare apples to apples. $800 a month, by the way. This happens to be a $150,000 loan at 5% interest, and it was spread over 30 years, which is the most common way people do home mortgages. Fixed rate over 30 years. So that's the loan payment. So it's as if this person's borrowing $150,000, and they put down $35,000. So this is borrowing $150K, and what I say, $35K down on the house. So what was the price of the house? Not all together. $185,000. 185K, by the way, means thousand. I'm just shortcutting here. 150K means 150,000. 35K down, and then 185 is the selling price. All right. 800 a month on the loan of 150,000. Then there's the property taxes, which happen to be 3,000 a year. But I'm going to 3,000 per year, which is hang on, where's my monthly here? 250 a month. 250 a month for the property taxes on this house. And that's a little high at 3,000, but I'd rather be on the high end so you know what to expect when you own a home. The insurance on this home is, I gotta go find it, $700 per year. Divide that by 12, you get about $58 a month. So when you go to closing, they're going to say, we have to do what's called escrow. Because you're not, if you put a huge down payment on the house, they'll give you the choice of whether you want to do escrow. Escrow means the company who's loaning you the loan for the house, they are collecting every month with the house payment. There's 215 property taxes per month. There's $58 in insurance per month. They hang on to it for you, and when the insurance is due and the property taxes are due, in almost every county and township, property taxes are twice a year, called the summer tax, the winter tax. And the mortgage company takes care of it for you. They will make the payments to the property tax and the payment to the insurance company for you, so that you don't have to try to save $3,700 because it's included in each payment. Up here is the annual amount. This is $1,264 a month for the house payment. Here's the property taxes, $4,800. Here's the insurance. Following this, I'm just using more realistic numbers as well. All right. So if you add up all these, that's 1,108. Does that look right? There's comparing apples to apples. 1,000 if you're renting, 1,108 if you're owning. I got it to 1,100 even on my math here. What did I do wrong? I must have thought that was a 0. So there's the difference. Now, has anybody ever either with your parents or on your own, rented a house or an apartment. Let's go with apartment. Okay, you guys experience rent. Anybody own? Okay, you guys experience with owning. I've done both. Many apartments, many owned, and I find owning much better almost across the board and a lot of advantages. My number one advantage is what I hated about renting is usually when I was renting didn't have an attached garage, and I hated scraping my window in the wintertime. So a huge advantage is you never scrape again if you own a home that has a garage. There's no more scraping. I love that part. People hate scraping so much that they'll remotely start their car in the house and let it warm up so they don't have to go and scrape their windows if it's parked outside. You know what I'm talking about? Who does it? You know? You do it.
Oh, yeah.
You know how much that costs?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. That's the point. And that's why owning a home, you no longer would ever have to deal with that.
I use my garage for storage.
Oh, you got to put the car in there. Once you buy a nice car, even though it's a year old, because you're never buying a new car, you're going to want to park it in the garage. I want to tell you, a car just lasts longer because the engine doesn't have to work nearly as hard to start in the winter by leaving it in the garage. The car will last longer. Anyway, we got off base. There's the house payment with taxes and insurance. Now, here we go. Multiply this times 12. Let's get our total amount to see. So the yearly amount here was $3,700. The mortgage times 12 is $9,600 a year. At 800 times 12. So 96, 3,700 versus 12,210. That's where we're at so far. Now, when you're making these payments on your loan, part of the payment's going to interest, which is just money thrown out the door, like rent is, you never get it back, but part of it's going to principal. The bad news is, in the first part of owning a home, the first few years, most of the payment's going to interest and only a little's going to principal. So in the first couple of years, the amount you should expect out of this $9,600 going to principal, paying the balance of what you owe down, is about $2,000 per year. So how much went to interest? $7,600 went to interest, $2,000 went to principal. This is called growth and equity. You'll see it up there, growth and equity, because this is $2,000 you saved. You no longer owe $150,000 on that loan. Now you only owe $148,000. So it's like getting this back. When you sell the house, you're getting all this money back. Growth and equity. You'll see in a second. Then there used to be a tax savings. We're right here now. You would take the total amount paid on interest on the mortgage, which in our case is $9,600, and you multiply it times your marginal tax rate, because before the tax laws changes, let's say this is 25%. Someone help me. 25, 45, that's 20, let's say $2,100. You'd be getting back $2,100 on your taxes for a fourth of this that you paid in property taxes in a rebate when you itemize it, but the tax laws changed. So that's about $2,100. Matter of fact, I got the exact amount. Hang on. Tax savings on interest is approximately $1,900 that no longer exists unless, because the standard deduction is so high, you would have to have a whole bunch of things to get over it. So just letting you know that's how it used to be. The reason I'm letting you know, this possibly is going to come back after administrations change. And the tax bracket is going to change back up a little bit when the administrations change, most likely. So, by the way, tell your parents if they have any pre-tax money, they should be transferring some of it to Roth IRAs to get the tax out of the way whilst the lowest tax they'll ever pay in their life. So if they're close to 50 or higher, please let them know that. Next, there used to be a tax savings on the property tax. Same thing. You look at how much property taxes saved, you put it on your taxes as itemized deduction, you get back a rebate. And whatever your marginal tax rate is, which for a lot of people is 25%. So you would get, where's the taxes? 3,000 times the marginal tax rate, about a fourth of that, which would be another $750 you would get back. You would get this money back because you owned a home on your taxes. Gone. Now there's one, by the way, see this opportunity cost? This is kind of significant for this one. The apartment complex, I said, it's only a $1,000 deposit. This is saying, hey, had you not bought this house, you would have still had that $35,000 you put down on it invested in the savings account making 2%. So you multiply that times 2%, actually I used 1%, I think. I can't find it. So 1%, 2%, whatever. It is, hang on, where's the number again? 35, about $350. 10% would be $3,500, so one would be $350. 1% used two, so 700.
Yeah, right.
So $350 to about $700 per year that you're kind of losing because that money's wrapped up in the house. But so that is kind of cost, but it's not that big a deal. It's not going to be on the final. I'm not going to expect you to do opportunity cost, but in real life you got to kind of look at it. If interest rates go higher, you especially got to look at it because your down payment you've been saving for so long at $35,000, and you've had it invested. Even if it's in a savings account, it's still making 2% or more on it, unless interest rates go back down. If we, if our economy slows down, who knows? So here's the big picture. The last item is that you said it's time to buy a house, but I'm not buying until I do the research that we talked about on Monday, which is where is the location where houses were gaining value at a percent rate higher than any of the other areas that I'm looking at possibly buying a house. Pinpoint the areas. And that's where you want to focus on to try to find that house when house prices drop. Because that's the area that will come back first when prices start coming back. And when they do come back, that again will be the area where the houses are appreciating the most. I went back and looked at records on my last house, second to last house, I guess, that I'm still going to sell here this summer. And it went up, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4 years ago, it went up about 4%. Then it went up 5% the year after, and then it was like 6.5%, and now it's the last 12 months it's been 9%. It's increased in value according to the tax records, according to all the other houses going for sale in my area, according to Zillow. It's gone up. These numbers are like double this according to Zillow. So I don't believe Zillow. Just so you know. So what I'm using is I'm saying you did what I did. But you only owned it. I've owned this house that I'm about to sell since 2011, so it's been 8 years. I'm saying, let's just say you only owned it for 4 years, and you have an opportunity to possibly transfer with the company you're with for more money, but you got to sell your house. I'm going to say, let's use 6%. And I want to tell you, this is probably conservative, meaning you probably are going to do better than this as long as you do the research. The number one rule in real estate, location, location, location. All three number one rules are all about location. That is the secret, the key. I couldn't emphasize it anymore. Now watch what happens. You've owned this house for 4 years. If only 1 year you make that this house went up in value 6%, it would be, you bought it for $185,000, K means 1,000, times 0.06, just going approximately, you made $11,100 by picking the right location. If it just increases conservatively, think about if it would have went up 9% like they're doing right now in the right locations, you're gaining, your house gained value approximately $11,100. Probably minimum if you pick the right location. It's going up that much. Now, if you do the math, you ready? You spent $9,600 a year on the mortgage. You spent $1,000 a month on the rent over there. Yes, you spent $3,000 a year on this property tax. Yes, you spent $700 a year on home insurance. But you lowered the amount you owe, which is part of this expense here, by some of the money going towards the principal on the balance of your loan. So you add all these, you're subtracting the money you're going to get back that went towards the principal. You're not subtracting these anymore, but you're subtracting this, and this house, which is kind of even better than that rental house, ends up costing you, ready, $1,400 per year after you're done. This one costs you $12,210 for the year. This one costs you $1,400. This is the first time I've ever had a positive value here in this example because of this loss in taxes. I've always been able to say, and every time I've given this lecture showing renting versus owning, that every house I've owned my whole life has been free every single year. because of it, me picking the right location and then appreciating value. Every house I sold, I made money on more than it cost me for any of these expenses. I've been living for free since 1991 maybe, when I, 2, 3, somewhere in there, when I bought my first house. Living for free. I've been making money on the houses, living for free and coming out ahead because of the taxes until the tax change. That's why you need to own a home. Does everybody understand? Right? As soon as you get somewhere, you know you're going to be there for a few years, 2, 3 years. As soon as you know that, you say, I think that maybe I should buy a house. Even if you got to sell it in 2 or 3 years. So what? Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Uh-oh, I'm going to add to our list. Tax. From selling tax. Yeah, just got burnt. So I gotta make sure you get this. I let emotions take over. I was selling my houses good over the last few years, and I had renters in this nice house. Let me see. So this one for $139,000. Oh, darn it. Bought this one for $139,000. Is it up there? I rented these renters. I think it was like $1,350 a month, or with the water. I think they were paying the water and sewer through me, so maybe it was $1,500 a month, something like that. And I always live in the houses for at least 2 years. Then I rent them for 2 years, and then that gives me a year cushion to sell. Because in the United States, this is one of the only ways, other than a Roth IRA, that you can make money tax-free. As long as you lived in the house and made it your primary residence, and what they'll check when they audit you is if you voted at that address. So you make sure and vote. Everybody hear this? I've gone through it. You got to make sure and vote at that address while you're living there. Go and vote. Move out, because you went to another house. Rent this house. This is what I did. The renters got emotional and talked me into letting them stay longer. Because the law says, if you sell this house, they go back 5 years from the date you sell it, and as long as you can prove that you lived it as your primary residence any 2 years, you could have lived there, moved out, moved back, 2 years in the last 5 years, any money you make on the house is yours, no federal tax, no state tax, no local tax. It's an extra 30% in your pocket. Everybody hear that? This is a big deal. This is why it's my favorite chapter. This is the key. I'm now handing you the last set of the car keys to get you to retirement. This is it. You're going to park after you get this. So, I let them stay there. Big mistake. When I went to sell it, I was honest. They said, has this been your main principal residence for 2 out of the last 5 years? This happens at the closing. You've got to sign a document. And I said, no. They stayed an extra 2.5 years, I think it was. So now going back 5 years, I had only lived there a half a year to a year. So I said, no. And now I have to do my taxes, because this was last year when I sold this. And I have to write a check in a week for $21,000 out of my pocket to pay the taxes on the money I made in this house, because I didn't sell it and let them stay there an extra 2 years to pay rent. Don't get me wrong, I made in profit on the rent about $18,000 over that time, but I'm losing $21,000 in taxes that would have been in my pocket had I just sold it and not let them stay. The plan was, I said, you've got to stay long enough for me to come out ahead, and then they burn it down. They didn't burn it down. That whole area right there caught on fire, and so they moved out. And so I didn't get that extra year's worth of rent. And they moved out, I got it repaired, I sold it now. I sold it. It took me almost a year to sell it with no rent. So the better decision is you can't let people talk you into doing something that you know could turn in risk. I just risked 20-some thousand and it backfired on me in a way. So I have to write a check. And I'm not writing that check until the 15th at midnight. I'll be at the post office at midnight because, you know, that's $21,000 out of my pocket I got to pay. Don't get me wrong, I made a significant amount of money on that house, but the whole plan was it was all going to be tax-free. I don't want you to make that mistake. You make sure it's tax-free for you, because it's one of the few opportunities in your whole life that you get to make money tax-free. Now I want to tell you, this is going to be the bump that gets you to that goal when this happens. And you're going to see it at least once in your life. Everybody who's under, looks like everybody's under the age, or whatever age I'm just thinking of. And the reason I'm making sure you understand this point is because if I can get this last one sold, where is it? I got this for $115,000. I want you to just soak that in for a minute. $115,000 down in Linden. Everybody with me? This, you could do the same. Don't be wrong. It wasn't finished. I had to put $65,000 of my money on top of that, so I'm at $185,000. But Zillow has this at $511,000. So I have 180 into it. 115 plus 65. What am I at? 180. I got 180 into it. 4 bathrooms. I love bathrooms. I have my, whatever. And you see that room at the top right there? That's the only space I live in. The rest of this is nothing but money waiting to be made. That's all it is. That's all a house is to me, is how can I make money off it? And this is the system I'm trying to teach you right now. Because this is all going to happen again. They're going to give away houses again. And I looked at tons of houses just like this that were finished, that were in the 180, 190,000 range. There is no way I'm getting any less than $350,000 for this house out of 180,000. And I don't have to pay any taxes on the money I'm going to make on it because I'm living there right now. And I've been there for more than 2 years, so I know this is going to be tax-free. I'm only showing you this because I want this to sink in, and I want you to say, if I can do it, you can do it. All it takes is preparing and knowing it's coming again. That's all it takes. Go ahead.
When did you buy that?
I bought it in April of 2011. April of 2011.
Right after the recession.
I'm sorry?
The end of the recession.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was exactly where houses were at the bottom of the
Yeah.
hill.
I bought my house, like my mom bought my house in early 2012.
Oh, that's a good time too.
It was we got it for 70 and it's either one out of it, and it's worth like $200,000 now.
Yeah, I just saw another house. Someone turned in a house where if you go back and look and see, you could tell somebody bought this in 2012 and they were making $100,000 off it. Somebody handed in a house that if they get the selling price, that they were going to make $100,000. It is like an extra $100,000, $200,000 if you do this right in your pocket. And so I got to live here since 2011 to today, and after I sell it and I do all this, I didn't have to. It's going to cost me nothing to live there. That's how much money I'm going to make off it. That's the point I'm trying to make. This is the same thing you can do, all of you. Now we're going to. Where's my notes? We're going to page. I want to show you the next step to this. 230. When you finally get to that point, you're going to be somewhere. Akron, Ohio. I had to live in right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania was my next place location. You're going to be living somewhere, and you're going to say, okay, the time's coming. It looks like the market's here. House prices may be dropping here soon. I've been saving money, waiting. You say to yourself, I've got good credit, ready to borrow. I mean, the house I showed you, by the way, was the first house I tried to get when at the time I was ready to buy another house. And somebody had beat me to it. It was sold. I went and looked at 50 more houses before all of a sudden that house showed up again on the listings. And I thought, oh my God, what's going on? How could this be? I go and check on it, and I make a ridiculous low offer, and they took it. And the deal was, the builder got foreclosed on it. The supplier owned it in an auction. They had all of their stuff in the house in boxes as well as already built into the house, and they needed their money back. And so they accepted the offer. They accepted my offer because they had never even come here to look at the house. They'd never been in Michigan. This company was down in Ohio, and I forgot what city it was in. But I mean, there were doors, bedroom doors, and all in boxes there, ready to go. It was like I didn't even have to go out and buy doors. The main thing I had to do was have it painted inside, which I got a couple guys off Craigslist for $8 an hour cash. They spent 45 days painting that. They went, those 5-gallon buckets? There were so many 5-gallon buckets I could make like a wall down the basement with them. I made benches, put wood across them, and made shelves. There's so many of those 5-gallon buckets. The whole thing, that was the biggest thing, was painting. I had to get a furnace, central air, have ductwork put in. All the wires were hanging down the basement, had them all led to the electric board, and put all the plugs in, put all the switches in. It wasn't that hard. It took me 3 months with help of people off Craigslist and everything else. It didn't have downspouts, but the cost for everything, including the bathroom I added, was $65,000. That's everything, and I kept track of every single penny all the way along the way. I had folders and spreadsheets, and so like I started doing things myself in some of them. I never have done tiling in my life. You know, ceramic tile in the bathroom. I watched YouTube the night before. And I went to, every day, every morning, I'd go drive to the house, and either the paint guys would come and they'd be painting while I'm working, or making phone calls trying to get somebody to help me with this or help me with that. Hey, I need somebody to put this gas pipe in all the way from one end of the basement where the fireplace is at the bottom below the fireplace at the other end of the basement. You know, I had to find somebody to do that. Every day, I'm making phone calls trying to find somebody to take all the water. You know, when you turn on the water, the drain pipes, right? The drain pipes are just hanging in the basement. Have those all hooked in, so it will hit the sewer on the way out. There's a septic. When the septic pump would turn on, you hear the water go up the pipe and outside and down a pipe, and then all of a sudden you look in the backyard and a bunch of stuff would be bubbling. And you go, oh my God, the builder put the pipe just to the backyard and didn't take it to the sewer at the curb. So I'd have a guy with a bulldozer come in, build a ditch all the way from there, all the way along the side of the house, all the way to the curb, put all this piping in and hook it into the township sewer. You know, I had to get a permit for it. And it really wasn't that expensive, maybe a couple $1,000. But everything added together, it was $65,000 to get it done, where it's at right now. And so I'm just trying to tell you, I did it during the summer. It took me 3 months and a week or so. I'll never forget that first day. The township, you have to get what's called a certificate of occupancy before you can stay there and live there or sleep there. I didn't get the bed in time, but I was so happy to get that certificate that I slept on the floor the first night. You know, it was all carpeted and everything, and I just was so happy that I got to the point to where I could live in it. Anyway, this is where we're at. This is the key to calculating when you're ready to go and buy houses. You should ask yourself, how much can I afford? How much can I offer on a house? What should be the prices I should be looking for? This is the calculation that will answer those questions for you. All right? Which is right here. I'm going to do exactly what's done in this column right here. There's 2 different columns. This one is if the person, like yourself, might have other payments. A car payment, student loan payment, maybe a credit card payment. This one is if there's no other payments. You live somewhere where you don't need a car, and you don't have a student loan, and you don't have monthly payments on a credit card or something. Then you'd use this one. The difference is that percentage up there, 33% versus 38%, okay? So, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm following the left one, but I'm just using more realistic numbers is all. You're thinking about buying a house, you're wherever you are, you're working, and right now you're making $42,000 a year. Yeah, that's kind of conservative if you've been out of college for a couple of years, but you know, in Michigan, it's probably average, a little below average, a little above average maybe in Michigan for a couple of years out of college, depending on the job. But you divide that by 12, that's $3,500 per month. Now be careful. If this problem's on the final exam, you may be just given the monthly amount. Don't divide it by 12. This is only because the yearly amount needs to be broken down to per month. Now, it says take the gross income. This is not net. This is gross. This is before taxes are taken out, before the retirement is taken out, and multiply it times 38%. 0.38. 38%. This gets us to $1,330. That's where we're at so far. Now, we subtract what are called debt payments. Whoops. Debt and, what's the other one? Like car loan, student loan, any of those type of things. And I'm going to say, let's pretend you are paying $400 a month. You're paying like almost $200 a month on your student loan, and you're paying almost $200 a month on your car payment. Let's go with that. $400 a month. And then you've got to subtract what you estimate would be your monthly property taxes on the homes you're thinking about buying, plus your monthly, what it would cost monthly for your home insurance. I just want to see, how much should we use over here? $3,000 for property taxes, which was $250. Insurance was $700, which is $58. So that's $308. I got $300 on here, so that's probably pretty good. about $300 a month for the property taxes and the insurance payment. You subtract those from that 38% figure, and you end up with $630. You just calculated how much should be the max that you should be spending on a loan payment. Without the tax and insurance, just the loan mortgage, this is the highest you should be paying on a house payment. Just the loan part of the house payment. If you add the 300, 930 is the house payment with the escrow, meaning they want a 12th of your home insurance and a 12th of your property taxes so they can pay it for you. 930. So 630 is the most you pay for a loan. Now you go to this chart on the next page, and you look up there and you go, almost everybody, not everybody, but almost everybody uses a 30-year fixed mortgage. So go to the 30-year column. I'm using 5% because you could most likely really get a 5% loan right now for 30 years with minimal down. So I'm going to go with that 5%, 30 years. What's the number off the chart? I got 5.37. Is that correct? Anybody see it? Is that it? So you are going to divide the mortgage, the maximum mortgage amount, divided by the number off this chart, 5.37. Then multiply it by 1,000. Okay? 2 steps. 630. You ready? 630 times 0.05. I'm sorry. 630 times 5.37. What'd you get? 630 times 5.37.
Are we dividing that, or?
Not yet. Yeah, divide. I'm sorry. Did I say times? My fault. Divide. 630 divided by 5.37 is 117. 117.318 maybe? Okay, so I do have it. Now multiply times 1,000. 117.318. You just found, we're right here. Go on, go right here. You just found the affordable mortgage. This is the amount, maximum, that you should borrow. Even though you're going to qualify for more than that 117,000, this calculation is telling you you should do everything you can to not borrow more than that, to keep your payment there, based on what you're paying on student loan and car payment, based on how much you think property taxes and home insurance will be per month, based on your gross income times the 38%. This is the most you should borrow. Now, this scenario, we're going to pretend you're putting down 10%. So to make an offer on a house, it's going to be more than $117,000. This is 90% of the offer. You're using cash for 10%. So right now the question is, you want to know, if you're looking at houses, what price ranges should you be looking at, and what's the most you could offer on a house if you're looking at one that you need to offer the most on. And that's what this last part does. You need to, is it divide or multiply? You need to divide by 1 minus the percent of down payment. In this scenario, just like the book, it says this person's putting down 10%. The opposite of 10% is 90%. If you're putting down 20%, the opposite would be 80%. You're dividing by the opposite of the down payment. 100% minus the percent of the down payment. So in this case, we're putting down 10%. We're going to divide by 90%. 0.9. 117,318 is 90% of a much bigger number. I got this written down. 130,353. You ready? You just found the most you should ever offer on a house, because if you offer more than 130,000 and it gets accepted, you're going over budget. And you could be setting yourself up for disaster, especially if you're significantly over that. This is what you need to calculate so you know what your plan of attack is. Now, when you start looking at houses, are you going to look for houses that are 130,000 or less? No. You're looking at houses that are 140,000, 150,000. This is the most you would offer. This is just telling you the highest you would offer. When houses are at a crash takes place again, you've got to remember, there's banks out there that own these foreclosures now, and they're almost willing to listen to any offer. And you want to take advantage of that. That's the only way I got a house for $115,000 that should have never got at that price. because I found a motivated seller who's already had so many offers. And every one of those people that it showed sold, no bank would lend anybody money on that house. And I found out that previous offers were like 140, 150,000, but no one would lend money. It wasn't finished. Banks and credit unions could only loan on houses that are livable. They already have their certificate of occupancy, so they weren't willing. I instead had to pay cash, and that was the only way I was able to get that house because no one else was willing to offer cash for it. And I jumped in when I saw it available again and said, all cash. And that's how it happened. Now, if you don't have the cash, and I thought, wow, I have all my cash wrapped up in this other house and this other house. I went and borrowed a home equity loan on one of the other houses that I didn't owe anything on and used that cash to pay for it. Then after I got my certificate of occupancy, I go get a mortgage and I pay off the loan that I got on the other house. So the point I'm trying to make is, you know, even if you don't have the cash, look at other ways to get the cash and take advantage of it.
So that guy you bought it from, did he end up having to pay taxes on it because he didn't have a chance to live in it for 2 years?
Good question. That's a good question. Because no one lived it, because it wasn't finished. How do you determine what the cost was? If you're right, the supplier got it at auction, whatever they paid at auction, which by the way, I can see what they paid at auction. They got it for, I think it was $99,000. So they did have a gain of $16,000. Nah, I take that back. It may have been $129,000. So they may have had a loss. And they do get to write off a loss. And yes, they would have to pay taxes on the gain because you're right. But the gain, just the amount gained, yeah, not the whole thing. And that's what the reason I owe $21,000 isn't because of the house I sold for $195. It's because I bought it at $139, sold it at $195. The difference I paid taxes on. So what I make $60,000, I have to pay $20,000 of the $60 to the federal and state government to pay the taxes on the gain. How are we doing? We're almost done with today's lecture. Just a little bit more. Are you overwhelmed with all this great information? Does anybody see a road to retirement through this at all? Anybody? You guys are so young, you're not even thinking about retirement. I may not make it to tomorrow. Okay. Here we go. Real estate agents, that's where I'm at. On slide 15. Whoop. Here's how real estate agents, I know I mentioned it a little bit Monday, I think. Almost all real estate agents charge 6% to the seller. The seller pays both agents, the buyers and the sellers, always. And the normal going rate is 6%. Now, if the house is being sold for a higher price than the sweet spot, you can negotiate and get it down to 5%. And if it's even more expensive, you can negotiate and get it down to 4%. Now, 6% is normal. 4% is the lowest I've ever been able to get a realtor to agree to. I don't know if you can get it below 4 or not, maybe, but that's the lowest I've ever been able to. Now, if the realtor that's representing the sellers, I gotta take that back. It's the realtor representing you that you're negotiating this percent to, and if they do go down to 4, almost all of them did not communicate with a buyer's agent, and so they're saying, I'm gonna do it for 4. The seller's agent said, I'll take 1% because we don't know, we don't have a buyer yet, so we don't know who the buyer's agent is, and we won't be able to get out of that 3%. The seller's agent saying, I'm the one that will take the reduction to get you a lower so that you will represent me. I never, ever, ever, ever go with a realtor to even pay the 4%. Never. Every house I've ever sold is 0%. I do it myself, and it's not that hard. Especially with Zillow. Zillow's become so popular. In the old days, the biggest, hardest thing about selling a house is because your house is not listed on all the realtors' websites. That's called an MLS, a multiple listing service. And you have to be represented by a realtor or pay some kind of fee if a realtor is willing to help you to get on that. And then you show up on every single site that has houses for sale. All the realtor sites have every house for sale, not just the ones they represent. Every house for sale that's going through a realtor. And so some people feel like it's worth that to get there. But things have become so popular on the internet that it's become far less difficult to sell it yourself. And do that. Now, I just sold my parents' condo because my father passed away and my mother moved in with my sister out in Colorado. And so I thought, what if I print the closing so you can see exactly what fees were involved? Is that big enough for you to see? You guys back there? No? Okay, so I'm gonna have to do parts at a time then. Where's my zoom in? Okay, this isn't the sellers, this is the buyers. So the condo sold, can you see that? Do you see it? You guys, I gotta make it bigger, really?
No, we can see it.
Seriously? Shoot, we're not gonna be able to see everything we need to see. Okay, hang on. Okay, how about there? Condo sold for $233,000. This is the buyers. This is, you gotta remember, this is what they're being charged. It's gonna come out of their money. This is the money that they're providing, which in this case, their loan. They got a loan for $143,000, so that's the credit. The debit, they're paying the seller, me, $233,000. Here's what they had to reimburse me, the seller. I'm going to get charged for November's association dues, which was $200 a month. But we did this transaction on November 2nd, so they have to reimburse me for the rest of November. So out of the $200, they're paying me $193.33 because of the date in which it's being bought. The taxes. All property owners paying their taxes in advance. So when you sell a house, the buyer has to reimburse you for the taxes that haven't been used up yet. Anyway, city and county taxes, that's how much I paid already for the taxes for that condo for the year. So based on the dates, it's not always necessarily calendar dates. Weird, each township does it differently. But they had to reimburse me $642 of the city tax to the township, and the county had to reimburse $191. So the buyers had to buy that to the seller to reimburse. Down here are the kind of fees these are very, very typical fees right here. The buyer has to pay, where's the appraisal fee? The buyer has to pay for an appraisal to be done. In this case, we're going to follow it, $425. Isn't that time? Loan charges by the mortgage company, well, it's nothing, good, okay. Prepaid interest. Because of the date they're buying it, they have to pay 1 month, well, whatever that is, 29 days worth of interest at $19.55 a day. So that is $556. An application fee for that loan, I guess, the loan company charged them $100. Escrow waiver fee. They're saying that the difference between $233 and $143, which is $90,000, because their down payment's so large as a percent of the price, they have the choice to have their taxes and insurance to be put in escrow or pay them themselves when the bills come in. They chose, where is it? Where's escrow? Escrow waiver fee costs them $500, but they don't have to pay it in their house payment. They will save it themselves, and when the bill comes in for the insurance once a year and the taxes twice a year, they're going to pay it themselves, which is what I do with what I have done with every house I've owned too. Just pay it myself. And then, where are we at? And Michigan, I think, administration fee, or is this the bank? Oh, Mortgage One, administration fee, $445. Not many places will charge this, so they got ripped off because they picked the wrong mortgage company. And they hide extra fees. This is very typical mortgage companies. And that's one right there. They'll hide, they try to make more money on the fees by hiding fees that are not necessary. So what they call it? An administrative fee. That's a BS fee. That's what I call it. And then we have appraisal fee, yes. $425 is kind of high. $375, $400 is kind of the going rate. Credit report fee, usually it's like $20. $47.05, everybody has to pay that because you have to have your credit check to get the loan. Damn, we're not done. They got 2 pages of fees. This is what you should expect. And then you have the condo questionnaire to HomeWise document mortgage one fee. What was that, $120? I've never heard of that. I'm sure there was a reason behind it, but there's no way it was worth $120. I feel bad for the seller, or buyer, excuse me. And then the good faith variance cure. I've never heard of that before. I have no idea what it is. Variance cure. I don't know, but it's $5. It's $5 they got, so maybe I had to pay it. It's a credit. I don't know what that is.
A lot of it's like first-time home buyers. Like when I bought my house, I had to pay to take all these tests.
Oh, really?
To make sure I knew how.
But they didn't pay it. They got it as a credit.
Well, no, like the condo questionnaire to HomeWise.
Oh, that, yeah. Okay, so now this is title insurance. Every buyer of a home has to pay title insurance. Every seller of a home has to pay title insurance. This is ensuring that this is a legit title. The buyer doesn't worry that they're buying a house that's really not owned by the person selling it. The title company goes and checks all the historic records of all the buys and sells of the property that's being transacted on. And that is actually low. The seller ends up paying more in title insurance than the buyer. And then, what is this? They have the title, this is the title company. Closings almost always go either through a lawyer or a title company. Much less expensive to go through a title company. And doing it yourself, the title company will help you. Almost every title company has sell it yourself steps to make sure you got everything covered so you're ready for the closing. And you get all your numbers just before the closing takes place, and then everybody meets wherever the closing is taking place. And you're seeing all the documents that you got in advance. You're making sure that you look at the instructions you get all over the internet. Gives you instructions how to close your own house so you can be prepared and make sure you're not going to get ripped off in any way. The title company is so good though that they're going to make sure you don't get ripped off also. So you can pretty much kind of trust them, but don't trust anybody. Remember that. But you could. Right? I've never been ripped off by a title company whatsoever. Hang on, they got more fees. We're running out of time. Hang on, this is good stuff. All right. They had to pay a title. The title company called a closing fee, and this is kind of typical, $500. And then the real estate, they had a realtor. I was selling this with no realtor, doing it myself. They came and looked at it with no realtor. And I said, I'm glad you don't have a realtor, because now I would have had to negotiate with that realtor whether I wanted to pay them or not. And a couple who did come and make an offer on the condo had a realtor with them, and I had to negotiate with that realtor, and I got it for 2%. If that deal would have went through, I would have had to pay 2% to their realtor for bringing them to come see the house and show it, and that realtor would have been with them through the whole closing process, and I would have to pay 2%. This realtor wasn't with them when they came to look at it. This realtor wasn't with them when they made the offer and I accepted it. And this realtor tried to get money out of me, and I said it's not happening. I don't know if this deal will not go, I can't remember the name. I don't know if the Nelsons are not going to want it because I'm not going to pay you, but this is like, all of a sudden, we already got it, we already made a deal, we've already agreed. And so the realtor said, okay, I'm still going to help them, even though you're not going to pay me. Because, here's the realtor's reason, because they're letting me sell their house. So the realtor said, I'm going to make money off of selling their house, 3% up to 6%, so I'm going to be okay with that. I just thought maybe you'd want to do the right thing and pay me. Seriously, that's what the realtor said. I thought you'd want to do the right thing. I did. So, 2000, why did it, they had already given a deposit of 2000, so that's why I came back, so they just lost that deposit that they gave it to the realtor when they were making offers or whatever, 2000. Government, these are real fees. Recording deed with the county, $5. Recording the deed with the register of deeds at the county, $30. Everybody's got to pay in Genesee County, both of those. Recording the deed with the register of deeds, another $30. Now this seems crazy. And I have not seen both of these. I usually only see one of these, so this is kind of a surprise. But I'm not going to argue because it was the seller. Whatever was happening, or the buyer, excuse me, whatever was happening to them. Now, miscellaneous fee, $395 for administrative processing fee by RE/MAX. Their realtor said, come have the closing at my office, and the realtor figured out a way to make money off the buyers because I said, no, I'm not going to pay you 2%. And even though the realtor is making money on their house that's being for sale, the realtor figured out a way to make money off the buyers buying this condo. A fee I've never seen charged to a buyer before by a realtor. So that person, I can't remember his name, obviously he's scum, made some $395, took advantage of the sellers and got $395. So as a buyer, you ready? The price of the house and all the fees, the house was $233, they had to pay $240, $7,000. In most cases, if you don't have that realtor fee and all this other stuff, this is usually only about $3,000 above the price of the house. And you should expect about $3,000 in fees as a buyer and be about average. I figured out a way to keep it down even closer to $2,000, but 3-4 years from now, you expect that to be about $3,000. So this should be about $236, not $240. And then here's their loan. Here's what they had to pay out of their pocket, $95,000. They borrowed $145, making that equal. And then you go to, boom. Here is the other side. Here's the seller. We only have 2 minutes. I Can't get this to enlarge. Wow, can you guys see it at all? You can't? Now this is the seller. Says, we're getting $233,000. Remember they had to pay that $193 to reimburse the association dues? It's on the credit on the buyer side, the $642 for taxes. The other taxes, $191. The seller got charged title insurance. Remember the buyer was like $500 title insurance? $1,223 for the seller's title insurance. And now here's an awful one that most sellers don't realize coming. Every time you sell a house, you got to pay what's called, what's the name over here? Transfer tax. There's a formula, you look it up on the internet, I can't remember, $1 something per $1,000 of the selling price. And so we calculated out to another $1,747 in transfer tax that the seller has to pay. Everybody has the transfer tax, everybody has the title insurance, so you should plan on it. And then, what else here? Now the state has a document fee for transferring a property, $256. That's the association dues that had to be paid but got reimbursed $193. This is the association coming, said we want some of this money, and they said we want $150 to change it over to the new owner's name. This is Cummings Property Manager just changing the name on their computer system. $150 they ripped off. And then, I can't read this one. Certification letter, I've never seen that one, but it was only $13. And then they said, we're going to hang on to $300 until you can prove the sewer and water bill, final bill's been paid. Paid the final bill, sent them a copy to show it's been paid, and then they send that $300 back to you. The buyer is receiving, I got to find this here, the buyer is receiving $234,026. And let me just stare at this for a minute. Due to the seller. Really, it's right here. So I got a check, for my family, my parents got it, $230,096, and I could not deposit it. I went to the credit union. We can't take that check. Went to a bank. I didn't even have an account in it. The guy was so excited. We'll open an account. Oh wait, we can't cash that check. We can't deposit that check. Nobody would take the check. I had to hang on to the check for a week and a half till I could find a way to get it deposited somewhere. I had to go to Fidelity Investments to finally get that check to where I could have it deposited somewhere. So one problem after another. Expect it. Be prepared for it. Did I take attendance? Just checking. See you next week.